Welcome to Sipping on Excellence. This is Coach KJ, and I'm here with my man, my dude, the Doc.
And this is where we will be discussing the exceptional that is absolutely attainable. My friends, here's to living that extraordinary life.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't stop. That's always my favorite go-to.
Why not?
Right.
Why
There's a
not?
reason why Melly Mel did it.
Why not?
That is the reason why Melly Mel did it. Sipping on excellence. Back again in the house. And we don't stop. That is for you your viewing pleasure.
Welcome back to Sipping on Excellence, y'all. Another weekend with Coach and Doc.
Oh man.
You know, it's good to be back in the hot seat again.
Oh my goodness.
We took a week off.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know we took a week off, but we took a week off.
Yeah, we were sipping on life.
Right, needed to.
Man.
Coach was fresh off vacation. We just needed to regroup, revamp. We just hit episode 60.
I know, right?
Right? 60 deep, y'all.
Man. And they say it wouldn't last.
Yeah.
Isn't that what Michael said?
Yeah, it's just a fad.
It didn't last, did it, Michael?
But now people are like, oh, yeah, y'all will get bored with it. And okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we bored with it, all right.
Yeah.
We getting bigger and better, y'all. Watch out there now.
I wasn't even ready for that one.
Boy. Thank y'all for being loyal fans and loyal listeners. You guys are making this fun. You guys are making us do better.
Yeah, man.
Y'all are asking for more.
Right.
I gotta adjust my mic, y'all. There we. Oh, now we good.
See, that's what happens when you don't step to that microphone enough. Yeah.
But yeah, y'all have been asking for stuff. We're about to bring it to you. We got guests coming. We have international guests that will be coming. We have all. I mean, you name it.
We will be guests.
Yes,
possibly.
we will be guests on podcasts. So we're trying to mix it all up and just bring you guys content that y'all will enjoy, man. Y'all need to be checking out the YouTube channel because people are starting to really enjoy it. Give us feedback, ask questions. Y'all aren't telling us what you want to hear enough, so guess what?
We're gonna tell you what you're
gonna
tell
you what you're gonna hear. But I will say though that people reach out to us individually on our own IGs and say, hey, maybe y'all should talk about this or that. There's a reason why we have the podcast IG.
Right.
For that right there.
Right. Yeah. So go
SOE_podcast.
Yes. Go to the podcast. Instagram.
IG, hit it up, like it, do all that good stuff,
right.
man.
Throw some questions out there. Give us some feedback.
We read all the DMs all the time, personally and on the podcast. Mm-hmm. So,
and if you don't like us, tell us too.
Yeah, say we don't like what y'all talk about.
Yeah, well, give us something to talk about. Right,
because the idea is that and this is what I tell people all the time, if you live your life trying to make everybody happy, you're gonna be the most unhappy.
Oh yeah.
And you know when I'm
not serving nobody else, not serving anybody.
No, and like if you're like in this position, this platform that we have, we're trying to lead. We're trying to be leaders, and in order to be an effective leader, you gotta be willing to piss some people off.
Yeah,
because if you stick with your truth, it's gonna piss some people off. Mm-hmm. Oh well.
That word leadership, man, people really, really get bent out of shape sometimes about that word. They don't understand that leadership is just guidance. It's information. We're providers of information. That's what a leader does.
You don't want us to say that we're leaders, and you don't want to be a follower. So what does that mean? Where are you going? Who's going? I mean, I tell like people all the time, my patients, you're following my lead.
Yeah.
I'm not following yours.
Yeah.
You're following mine. I go to my barber, I'm following his lead.
That's right.
You know, he's cutting my hair. Dude, this is what I think I want. You tighten it up.
Right.
I go to you. You coach me.
Right.
I'm following your lead.
Right.
If I'm coming to you saying, no, we're side by side, then that defeats the purpose. Right?
Getting absolutely
We ain't coaching each other. I'm like, no.
That's
in this moment, I need you to get me through.
Yeah, that's why, especially when from the training aspect, I was always, if people come in and say, oh, I need to do, high reps and, eat nothing but protein, and I say, oh, okay. Well, if you need to do that, why do you need me?
Exactly.
Obviously, you have all the answers. How's that been working out for you? I have no problem about saying that. No problem at all. I will let anybody know about themselves.
Oh, for sure. When patients come and say, I already know what's wrong with me because I was on the internet and I Googled this and this, and I'm like, really?
Okay, WebMD.
So, right, Dr. Google told you your problem. Did Dr. Google give you a solution? Well, he says I should have. I'm like, you should have what? Well, then you don't need me. I told this to somebody last week. Why am I here talking to you if you've already found your problem and the solution? And they just looked at me like, I'm like, Dr. Google and I are not friends. Yeah. We didn't train the same way.
Right.
you know? And so, the internet has been our nemesis as well as our, ally. But if I'm a lead, I'm a lead.
Right.
Don't come trying to get me to follow your lead when you're asking me for help. But you're right. People are triggered by that shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They're triggered by wanting to be right.
Well, especially, and you think about it too,
to be right
in the male-female role. When you say a man's a leader or the woman's a leader and it's male, it's feminine and masculine.
Right.
The feminine and masculine energies. One's got to lead, one's got to follow. You can't always be in charge.
No.
And if you're like, I'm not a follower, okay, then this ain't going to work.
And it's not going to work anywhere.
Exactly. It's not going to work anywhere.
Yeah.
You follow your boss, don't you?
Right. So you're going to go to work
and you say, I'm not a follower?
I can't do that. That's not what I do.
I don't follow.
I don't follow. Oh, okay.
We can partner on this. No. I pay your paycheck.
Yeah, exactly.
You're following my lead.
Right.
Right. Just dumb, right?
Right.
Oh, man. So you're back fresh from vacation, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Tired.
With taking that necessary week, what'd you learn about yourself, man?
What did I learn about myself? I learned, when you're in the midst of your partner all day, every day, there's not much of a break. You learn is to decipher where things go, like energy. It's like learn how to move along and cut to the chase so that way you're not fighting down the line over something that it's just asinine. Right. It's learning to be present to your partner and say, no, I got it, without ever having to say it. It's like we were listening to something as well, and she was talking about it was Michelle Obama.
Okay.
She was talking about marriages. It's about compromise, and I said, I don't really. I understand that, but compromise to me means I'm stripping myself away from something. There's something that has to be taken away from me in order for me to provide into this relationship. I say marriage is more about comprising. It's about bringing together two different energies. It's being able to share but also being able to identify that person's needs as well as what my needs are. You have to be able to approach it from a place of we're two different entities. Now, am I having to step away from, well, I don't want to do, I don't want to take out the trash at this time of the day. You know what I mean? I guess I got to do that. That's one thing. I mean, that's not really compromising. That's just take out the damn trash.
It's like I'm gonna make you happy. It's not making me unhappy.
Right.
I'm just making you happy now as opposed to making you happy later.
Right. And is that really compromising?
I got a question for you. Since you brought up marriage, when you hear people say all the time, we come together to make a whole. Do you believe that that person becomes the half that you're not? Or do you believe that you come into the relationship as a whole person, they come in as a whole person, and you guys form a team together? Not.
I'm very much so on the second one.
That's what I think it should be. If you feel like I'm missing something and I need you to make me a whole person, then you're already starting off behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of, you know what, I'm cool by myself. I'm a good person by myself. You come make me a better person by myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With you, that's what I think it is.
Yeah. I think the opposite has tangibles that you may not have. It's just that's their whole though.
Right. They're not giving it to you.
Right.
They're just bringing something to this partnership. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, when two companies merge, it's not half a company and half a company. It's two whole companies coming together to be a much bigger company.
Right.
Right. That's what I think. So this marriage is like, you're not going to give me empathy. You're not going to give me this. No, you're going to bring empathy into this relationship.
100%.
Or you're going to bring the feminine energy into this relationship. I'm going to bring the masculine energy into this relationship, but I'm still a whole person. Mm-hmm. But when I hear people say, oh, my better half or my other half, you're not really a half.
Yeah.
You're a whole. It's just my partner in crime, my partner in this business of life.
Yeah. Perfect example, like my marriage. So my wife is very good at, seeing the numbers, seeing where we need to pull back from areas. That I don't do that well. That's just not I can do it, but that's not my thing.
Right. And if you have her, why do you need to do it?
Right. But I'm very quick on my feet. I think in the moment. I come up with answers for certain things that where'd that come from? Like, did that just fall out of the sky? Like, how did you come up with that?
Right.
But that's the way I think. And that helps her. And it helps her to calm, be present, and take that in. It's like, oh, he's good at that. Okay, let me allow him to be that.
Yeah, and in that scenario, nobody's leading, but she's still looking for you to take that role.
Yeah.
That I got you role.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's just interesting thoughts because I was just serious. I was just thinking about that as you were talking. I was like, people look and approach that in a certain way. Like, I need this person to make me whole, so I'm looking for somebody to fill what I'm missing. You shouldn't be missing shit.
Well, I think also the idea of in marriage, I think what happens is with society, our parents, our grandparents, or just the media and the idea of what they see what marriage is or what they think that marriage should be, that you're giving your ideas. People always say, oh, I never had an example of a great marriage growing up or seen a great marriage. Okay, this is your opportunity to create the idea of a great marriage, or what you want to look and move forward with.
It's your idea of marriage. It's not your parents.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people get caught into what others think, versus what they think.
It's kind of crazy. I know we kind of went off on a tangent,
but it's
conversations.
It's conversations.
Conversations. This is real life conversations because this is stuff that people don't want to talk about.
Yeah. No.
They'll kind of dance around the issue.
They do not.
And they bottle that shit all up. And
it comes out.
Oh, yeah. And they go through life. And that's what's going to lead to our topic today. Mm-hmm. That people just at some point have enough. Mm-hmm. They just get enough and I'm done. And instead of effectively communicate like we always talk about, they bottle that shit up and then, it's kind of crazy. Yeah. So, I was away from you. So, what did you learn in the last week? I would say this week was great, and sort of had a moment of sadness all at the same time. Mm-hmm. For those of you who follow me on IG know, good friend, patient of mine, passed away recently from breast cancer. But she wasn't just a friend. She was a true woman's advocate. Now, there's these women out there that are feminist and advocate for women. She dedicated her life at a young age after she was found to have breast cancer to advocating for women's health. Mm-hmm. And she spoke in front of Congress. She's traveled the world to speak about it. And so living 21 years with this disease before it finally took her, you start to realize the good in people. Mm-hmm. And what I learned the moment that her brothers reached out to me just to let me know was that I learned that there are good people in this world. And when their time is up, you realize that the world is not as good a place without them in it. And the thing is, you want, when your days are done, for somebody to say that about you. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so it makes you, what it made me do in that moment was to think about, am I living my life in that manner? You know?
When we had that conversation, when we talked about it the other day.
Yeah.
Well, actually, after I read your post, because I was gone, and that was the first thing that hit me. That was the first thing, like, am I giving myself my all?
Yeah.
What am I giving?
You know, and
more of to the world.
You know, what are you doing for more than just yourself?
Right.
You know, are you living a life, number one, that you can be proud of? Or better yet, are you living a life that others will be proud of? Mm-hmm. You know, when people cross your path, are they better for having crossed your path? If not, then you need to ask yourself, how come? How come you're not touching everybody that crosses your path? And it doesn't have to be big gestures. It could be that freaking smile that you gave when somebody walked by. That right there may have saved somebody's life. You just don't know. But if you're that beacon of light for whoever it may be, then you're living the life you should. And then it's on to the next, whatever that may be. And so I thought to myself, I was like, you know, I need to live my life so that way that can be said about me when I'm no longer here. Mm-hmm. Or that could be the thought that people have even while I'm here, you know? And so that's one thing I learned about myself is that self-reflection on, am I living that life? Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? You know, how do I live that life? Just, we already live a life of service.
Right.
But who are we serving? Mm. You know, is it self-serving or is it serving humanity? Mm-hmm. I think it should be both. You know, and if it's too one-sided, if you give it all to humanity, you lose yourself. If you give it all to yourself, you're inhumane. Mm-hmm. You know, and so I think there's got to be, and there's no such thing as balance. That word doesn't exist. It just doesn't. Yeah. There's no such thing as balance. Balance doesn't get you anywhere. You just have to live your life accordingly, that both sides of that serving coin are used and fulfilled. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. That's what I learned.
Just give, man.
People understand the power of giving.
Yeah, yeah. And everything, I think the whole idea of giving, it always goes back to the whole monetary.
Yeah.
And it's beyond monetary. It's your heart, your spirit. You know, it's energy. You give so much.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much to give.
And
you bottling it up and holding it. And
you have more than enough to give.
Right. Waiting for that special day. Like, there's no special day.
And
Today is that special day.
And it's not just monetary gifts.
Yeah.
Those are probably the least important.
Yeah.
You know, give your time. If you have, that's the most precious commodity. We did a whole entire podcast on it. Mm-hmm. You know, what you do with your time is more expensive or it's got more worth than anything. You know, who you choose to spend your time with. And that's what I was saying yesterday on my post, how as I've gotten older, my circle has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because if you're not an inspiration to me of some sort, whether you inspire me to be a better person, you inspire me to be a better doctor, you inspire me to be healthier, you inspire me to make more money, something you have to inspire me to be better, mm-hmm. and not just looking to me for inspiration. You know, if you're like, oh, I'm so inspired by your life, but you add nothing to mine, then why are you here? And as I start looking at my circle and I start understanding that more, my circle gets smaller and smaller.
When you said that, it made me think about, what's his name? Ryan Cameron in Atlanta.
Okay.
And he used to always say, when people do something stupid, he's like, you need to go kill yourself. Like, damn,
right?
Why you so harsh?
But the thing is, and people think that I get rid of people. I don't get rid of people.
No, you don't get rid of people.
They just
people get rid of themselves.
You have the outer circle and the inner circle.
Yeah.
You get pushed to the outer circle, which means I'm friendly with you, but you ain't my friend.
Right.
I associate with you. We can do business. We can do all these things, but you're not the inner circle. That's reserved for the people who inspire me or who bring something to my life. You don't bring shit to my life. What's the point? If all you do is take, miss me with that bullshit.
Right.
You know, it's that simple, man. It is that simple. Before we get into the what's wrong with y'all, let's just talk about the sip of the day. We're both just thinking that, you know, today it's one of those days where like, let's just drink something cool, refreshing, and just put the alcohol aside. So we got straight up water, y'all.
I know.
And probably the best elixir for your soul.
Yes. What's in it? H, two, and O. Cheers, brother.
You can never drink enough. You can never drink enough. I don't care what anybody tells you. Oh, I drink a lot of water. I tell people this all the time. They come into my office with leg cramps and shit like that. And I'm like, you drinking enough water? Well, then you need to drink some water and take some magnesium, eat some bananas, get some potassium. Do all these things because it all stems around you're dehydrated. Oh, you get headaches all the time? Drink more water.
I remember as a kid, used to just get a little bit of table salt and drink your water. And that was, you know.
Well, here's the interesting thing. When I was playing football, before the games, our coach used to give us potato chips. Mm-hmm. You know, eat those salty potato chips. And so that way you're absorbing that water.
You saw there was only 3 on the shelf.
Lay's, the yellow bag.
Yellow bag of Lay's and Doritos.
Right? We literally would get Lay's potato chips before every game, and that was that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lay's.
Yeah, no, tablespoon of salt. Yeah. Drink your water and keep it moving.
People don't realize how important that is, man. They don't realize how important that is. Good thing for us, people do dumb shit every day.
He pulled up some stuff. I was like, oh, boy.
Good thing for us. Sorry. So we're going to talk about this rule number 1.
Yeah.
So I just happen to be, because social media for me serves as a source of entertainment, but also a source of, look at what this dummy just did. Right? So this is, in my mind, a very toxic, unhealthy relationship, since we were talking about relationships earlier. This woman is on IG talking about her and her husband's relationship and how it works for them. So she basically isn't allowed to leave the house with makeup on without him present, because he's like, oh, makeup makes men look at you, and if men are looking at you, then I'm at risk of somebody stealing you from me. That's his one little quirk. Hers? Let's see. She checks his work phones when he comes home, and all the numbers on his call log that she doesn't recognize, she calls them back to make sure they're not women. She got cameras in his car, And every night he comes home from work, she checks the cameras in his car to make sure that he's not been with any women. He's not allowed to talk to his mom or his sister without her being present because they're women, and she just wants to know the conversations he has with any woman.
Yeah, because she said, what? I want to make sure it's a safe space.
It's a safe space. How absolutely
insane
is that? Dude, I mean, it's just, how does that even, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure you've heard the stories about women that will get up before you, prep their hair, put a little blush on to make sure that when you wake up, she looked just like she did when she went to bed last night.
Yeah.
Or you hear the stories about women that will never go to the restroom because they don't want this idea that she's a human being.
Right.
This part comes.
She doesn't.
The number two.
Right. She doesn't want anybody to know that she poops.
Bro,
dude, it happens.
Destroying her system.
I'm like, cool. I understand that you don't want me to be in that presence. Go to the bathroom. Go handle your business. I've been around many women who I never ever knew. I think about it. I follow them into the bathroom when they come out, and you never knew they were there. Women know how to cover up their scent.
Right.
They know how to do it. Men are nasty. Women know how to cover up their scent. Right. But it's true. So why be so caught up in that? It's insane.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And this relationship, is it even, I mean, that shit there sounds absolutely crazy.
Now that's toxic.
That's about as toxic as it gets right there.
And it's not even toxic. It's toxic towards herself.
Yeah.
It's not even as
She's
toxic
bringing
towards
this.
him. She's killing herself quickly.
Dude. Did we talk about the dude whose wife lives as a child?
No. No.
Yes.
The wife lives as a child?
Yes. So this dude and his wife lives as a toddler, and he treats her like one. She dresses like one. But here's what's even worse.
That's creepy, man.
No. Here's what's even worse. He changes a diaper on her. She holds her legs up, and he changes a diaper on her as if she is a child.
And they record that.
Yes. And that's how she lives her life.
Please tell me that's just being funny.
No. I'm showing you. That is not funny. Dude. Crazy, right? For y'all who can't see, she's sitting here with a teddy bear sucking her thumb. He changes her diaper, changing her diaper, and putting her in a onesie. Yeah. But these are the problems with society today, man. And you can't say anything because this is how people identify. I saw another guy, what's wrong with y'all, who is married to an invisible woman. At least he never gets in an argument.
Are you sure that's not Jerome?
It ain't Jerome.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Who?
So remember Martin's stand-up?
Romy Rome?
No. Fuck him, girl. Fuck him. But she went out, and he was so black, he took off all his clothes, he went to the nightclub, and he thumped her in the head. Was that from Run Tell That? I think it was. Yeah. I think it was. Fuck him, girl.
But yeah, dude is married to an invisible woman. Walking down the street holding her hand, like legally married to an invisible woman. And another strange marriage. This woman legally got married to a roller coaster, an amusement park machine. Now, I hate to say this because we all do crazy things. Do I need to emphasize that they all white? But it's these identities, man. There's this. I saw this news story on a guy. This brother who feels he's identifies as a 35-year-old white man.
Clayton Bixby. See, I can go, we go down the line. Right? Every comedian's done something to clarify these type of people. Clayton Bixby, the black white supremacist.
Yes.
The blind black white supremacist.
Dave Chappelle was a genius.
Yes. He was far ahead. You know who the only other people that are far ahead? The Simpsons.
Yes.
The Simpsons have
predicted everything.
Everything. The pandemic.
Dude. Trump, they predicted.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. But it's wild that's where that went. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and he said, because I've always felt different. I always walk into a place and they look at me different. Yeah, because you're a brother. People look at you different, right? He's like, because I believe I'm a white man. Did I tell you this? A woman came to my office. A woman came to my office last week and clearly African American. Looks like me and you. And we're going to get to that African American term. I ain't black. She's
okay. Yeah.
It's clearly a black woman. Mm-hmm. On her intake sheet, she checked white, Caucasian.
Did she really?
Yeah. And I was like,
What was her name? I'm sorry. Yeah. I got it.
Why he tried to catch me?
you almost said it. That's what I was like.
Why he tried to catch me?
My bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
She meant it.
The nurse pointed it out to me, and I was like, because I usually don't see the demographics that people check. I just walk in the room, and you talk to me, and we go from there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Nothing Caucasian about her, but that's what she checked on her demographic.
Maybe she thought she was going to get service differently if she checked. I mean,
who knows? Who knows what the thought process was?
Man, in many ways, it's actually sad too.
And maybe one day we'll have a whole podcast on what it means to be African American, because I sent you this post. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, but a guy was describing, African American, and they're saying, okay, would you call people from Morocco or Egypt African American when they have the look of the classic Middle Eastern? So North Africa, are they African Americans? Yes, but you don't call them that. So then they're like, oh, what about people like Charlize Theron?
She's
South African. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, she's not African American. Well, then what are you classifying as African American? Oh, African Americans are considered to be people who are of African descent, but who are, descendants of slaves. Okay, so then you can't. Then he was like, well, then you can't call Barack Obama our first African American president because his dad was Kenyan. He wasn't a descendant of a slave.
Right.
So you see where this where this goes.
100%.
One of my colleagues, who's neurosurgeon that I work with closely, is Egyptian. He speaks Arabic. He's looks Middle Eastern, and we talk all the time about him being African American. He's like, yeah, I'm African American. And how do you? He is.
Yeah.
He 100 more so than me.
Yeah.
And so it's that conversation people don't want to hear. But when did it change? Because people didn't want to be called black. When people ask me all the time, "What are you?" I'm a black man.
Jesse Jackson, Operation Push. That's when it happened.
Yeah, and I'm just like,
because it was what was it, like 81, 82?
Yeah, early 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
some will say it was like the mid 70s when it started to.
Yeah. Well, because it shifted from color to black.
Color to Negro to black to.
Yeah. Yeah.
to African American.
Yeah.
You know, but it's wild, right?
Yeah. I mean, because, and why do we have to be separated? Because, I mean, I'm born and raised here. We're descendants of African slaves, but white people are.
But here's the thing:
white people are descendants of
but are we
immigrants?
All? But are we all?
Exactly. Some form of immigrant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you don't call white Americans. You don't call them
Caucasian American.
You don't call them English Americans.
No, or Irish American.
Irish Americans.
Yeah, no. European American. No.
Yeah. They're American.
Exactly.
So why am I any different than they are?
Right. And it's when I go to Africa, they don't call me African American.
No, they do not.
They don't call me black either. They just call me American.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But they'll say, "Oh, you're a black man." Because you are.
But they go, "Oh, you the Americans." And then he'll go,
"That's not a
oh, you colonizers."
Right? But it's kind of crazy that's the thought process of African Americans. And he made a good point when he was saying that. I was like, things that make you go, like your boy used to say. But it's just something I thought about.
Yeah.
The topic for today, let's get into it.
Let's dive into it. Let's dive into it.
Burnout. Well, first of all, people want to know what that means. What, in your mind, is burnout?
I am done. Done.
You know, people burn out in many different ways.
Yes.
You know, and we look at, let's talk about burnout in the workplace. Mm-hmm. You know, there's, in my profession, a high level of burnout in the medical profession, more so in physicians than ancillary healthcare providers.
Okay.
And signs of burnout: depression, lack of productivity, mistakes. Those are all signs of burnout. And they can be subtle, and people don't realize it.
Is it because of the repetition?
Many different things.
Okay.
Lack of sleep. You know, when that's one of the things that people say burnout happens: lack of sleep, lack of what they call balance, but there's no such thing as balance. Nutrition. What we talked about:
sunlight,
drinking enough water,
sunlight.
Yes, having a good support system. You know, these are all these things that we talked about. So that's why a long time ago, I wouldn't say a long time ago, a while back, they changed in training programs and residency. We changed the number of hours you're able to work as a resident physician to no more than 80 hours a week. And they found that the level of burnout, percentage of burnout, was less. And we found that medical errors were less when people got a better understanding of what burnout, what that means. You can have burnout in all walks of life.
Oh yeah.
You can have, we talked about marriages. You can have burnout in marriages where you become roommates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
You get caught into the daily rigors. You get caught into the mechanics of it all. It's like, okay, it's Monday, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, this happens. On Wednesday, this happens. You know, it's like we wash clothes on this day. I got to go get gas on this day. We go grocery shopping on this day. You become so repetitious.
so routine.
So routine. You lose track of being with the person that you're in the routine with.
When you look at your profession, let's look at the training side of your profession.
Right.
When do you see client burnout? And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Like, you'll see people who go to the gym, and they're doing the same routine all the time, and they're not making progress. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's, number one, because of this routine, you start getting a lack of interest. You start using a lack of effort, even though they're showing up doing the repetitions. they're not in it. And I think that burnout happens and they stop going to the gym altogether.
I think what happens also, I think it comes from both sides. There's a burnout of the trainer just continuously writing the same program over and over again. He gets caught into his own regimen of so to speak, and also him not being present with the client and checking in on their presence and their state of mind within their training. I think that it's like we especially now, I think more now than ever before, because there is social media, because there is podcasts, there are so many platforms, and then you see this idealistic world, and then you're like, well, I'm just in this place. I'm just going through the motions. This is what I want, but that's not real, and how do I get there? And I don't get there, and they're just like, oh, well, it's not for me. But they'll keep doing it because it's their default, but they eventually just kind of either stop doing it or they start acting out.
Do you think it's time? Do you think it's necessary to step away and step back? Like, for example, if I'm training with you, the good thing for you is that every few weeks we switch it up and it becomes completely different. Do you think there's ever a time when you would say, okay, you know what? Do nothing but walk this next week. Mm-hmm. And then...
Oh, I'm a very big believer in that.
Just take a break. Give your body a second. Give your mind a second.
Right.
And then let's come back and do this hard.
Yeah, go do some activity that you haven't done before. Like I say, go hike. Go walk. Go hang out with your friends.
Yeah.
Go to the beach. Do something that requires a level of movement, but that's not a regimented activity.
Because I think what I don't worry about physical burnout. Mm-hmm. You worry about mental burnout, because I think burnout is more mental than it is physical.
Oh, yeah.
But when you start to get burned out, it affects the physical. And I always wonder, how do you, and I'm talking about this sort of a rhetorical question as we think of the answer. How do you prevent burnout from happening? And then once somebody's starting to show signs of burnout, how do you help them get past it? And I've always said, because I try to figure that out for myself. Number one, burnout's going to come quicker if you don't enjoy what you do. Mm-hmm. Even though you enjoy what you do, if you're taking on too much of what you do, you're going to get burned out quicker, and it's going to make you start to regret what you thought was your passion.
Because we do live in a world of excess. So we have a tendency, if I have to do 3 sets, if I do 6, I'll get there faster. So you start pushing and pushing and pushing. I'm just using exercise and reps, but the idea is you start pushing out more volume, and you're probably pushing yourself backwards versus going forwards. The idea of always wanting more, I think, creates this almost animosity towards yourself.
Yeah.
Of wanting to get out there and do whatever it is that you want to do to achieve an accomplishment.
And I think that leads you to a more depressive state, because then you're not achieving it, so you start being down on yourself. Yeah. I look at, again, in my profession, because burnout is so high, you take a high stress environment, and let's put it in, because I'm a car guy, in car terms. If your car is revving at 9,000 RPMs all the time, eventually that engine is going to overheat.
Yes.
Same thing with you as a person. If you're going 100 miles an hour all the time, your mind is always just using its 3% that it can use. You're using it to the max all the time. Eventually something's going to shut down. You're not giving it, and I'm kind of trying to talk myself into this. You're not giving yourself time to recharge.
Right.
You're not giving other people around you a break from you, which I think is necessary, because when you're going 1,000 miles an hour, it makes everybody else around you at least try to keep up, and then you end up burning everybody else out as well. Mm-hmm. Am I talking to myself today? I think I'm trying to wrap my head around me doing too much.
Well, your mind goes. But I think also what happens too is when you are a lot of times by yourself, your thoughts can get the best of you.
Oh, for sure.
Like you said, it is mostly mental. So you think you're alone. You think that nobody understand me. Nobody understand this. Why am I this way? Why am I so revved up? Why do I need to do so much? Why am I now burning out from doing so much? I'm alone again. It's like I'm alone on the journey of that success or that great body or whatever it is. But then when you fall out of that, you fall from quote unquote grace of that place that you were going. Now you're not giving yourself grace, and now you're falling out of love and falling out because you think you're alone.
Yep.
When you're not there anymore. And
for sure.
There are people around you, all around you, that are there to support you, but you don't give them that opportunity because you won't give yourself the opportunity to put yourself out there for it.
Oh, for sure, man, for sure. And I think more people than not are on that slow burn. It's not happening rapidly, but it's a slow burn that this daily grind is sort of taking them to. For me, I'm just one of those people that's lucky that I survive on very little sleep, very little. I have to keep going because if I get bored, then I get into shit. So I have to keep going. There's people out there who are on this slow burn, and you see it. I see it around me, and I look at them like, oh, they're gonna crash soon. Mm-hmm. And because they start to. Oh, the other thing too is they start to get anxious. Not necessarily just depressed, but they start to get anxious. Mm-hmm. They get a little anxiety around not performing, and I think it's a problem. And I think we're, as a society, not getting better at it. We're not getting better at controlling it. I used to see it when I was in college as a student. You'd see people pulling all-nighters, studying, and then they fail a test. Why? Because they're burned out. They've revved that engine so high that they lose it, and without having sort of those social outlets, without having that person to talk to, whether it's a spouse, a friend, a therapist, whatever it may be, you keep it going.
Yeah, there was a guy that went to college with, and he was extremely arrogant in school. He did well in school, amazing in school, graduated, went to I'm going to Wall Street, so that type of guy.
Right.
Went to Wall Street. I say, what was it, within a year and a half after being on Wall Street, all of a sudden, family couldn't find him. He came up missing. Wasn't dead, just came up missing. I think that when they eventually found him, he was in Oklahoma. I was like, that's a long way from Manhattan.
Long way
from Manhattan, yeah, but he completely burnt out.
My first experience with burnout, I was in high school. Remember I told you I used to be a telemarketer?
Yeah.
And so I used to raise money for like the police athletic league or something. And I got really good at cold calling people. They give me a call sheet. I'd look at the area codes and the zip codes. I'm like, oh, these people got money. And I would just, boom, call. And I started out making like $5 an hour or something like that. And I bought my first car because I got good at this. But that repetition of calling a few hundred people a night over a period of 4 hours and people hanging up on you, you just boom, next call. After a while, my sales went up.
Yeah.
And then slowly did this. Even though I didn't change anything about me, but my boss at the time, who's supervising, he just saw, and he was like, dude, it's like everything else. He's like, you've peaked, and then you're burning because you peaked so quickly, you're burning. He's like, you're going, like this. And he's like, and now you're starting to crash. He's like, so it's my job to notice that crash and tell you to take a leave. And so, yeah. So he was like, take a leave, come back in a month.
Okay.
He's like, come back in a month and see if you can get it back. He's like, because we like what you did, but now you're doing this. You know, you're on your way down again. And I was like, I didn't understand at the time, but I was like, F this job then. You know, in my mind, I was like, I'm good.
Right.
But my numbers weren't.
Right.
You know, and I couldn't tell that I was doing anything different. When I look back on it, my approach was cold now. I was just like, yeah, okay, bye. Next. Whereas before, I was trying to talk people into it. I was doing all kinds of things, getting people to spend money they didn't have, but I was good at it. And then all of a sudden, I was just like, yeah, whatever, bye. Like, I was just trying to get through the 4 hours so I could make I didn't care. When I stopped caring about the commission, it was time to go.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I just make my $5 an hour or $8 an hour, whatever I was making, and just go home. You know, just get me through these 4 hours. And that was my first minute. Like, oh yeah, maybe that was burnout. I was burned out of going so hard that I just didn't care anymore. You know, I haven't had burnout since that I know of, but I will say there may have been points in my life where my body expressed signs of burnout. You know what I mean? Remember when I had Bell's palsy? Mm-hmm. That could be a reason. You know, your body's manifestation of stress without you actually feeling stressed. It's like, dude, it's time for you to shut this down. You know? And like you always tell me, it's all about sleep. And one of the number one reasons of burnout is lack of sleep.
Mm-hmm. Because people think they're going to miss something.
Yes.
A lot of times people don't sleep because they think they're going to miss something by not, by staying awake, that they won't be able to accomplish whatever goal it is, whatever activity they're working on. That little extra time is going to make that moment that much better. The sleep, the rest will make you focus and think clearly the next time you address it, but somehow they lose that way.
And just because you're in bed for 8 hours doesn't mean you're sleeping.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I play this game on my phone, just a word game, just, whatever. If I get to it, I get so caught into it, I'm playing for so long, and all of a sudden my brain just starts, I can't see the words. I'm like, screw it. I just
put it down.
And I'll wake up the next morning, go to the bathroom, you play the game, next thing you know, boop, doop, doop, doop.
Right.
All the words,
again. Yeah.
Immediately. Oh, is that what happens when you get some rest? You see words.
Exactly. Exactly. I was just working on yesterday. Every year I have to do this thing for my recertifications.
Yeah.
And one of it is 30 questions. I have to read 15 different journal articles and then answer 2 questions per article. And so I'm reading these journals and then I'm answering these questions. And I get to one journal. I'm like, all right, I'm on question 19. I'm like, dude, you can do the last 11. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, and you only have 3 minutes per question. You're only allowed to miss 4, right?
Okay.
And so I'm looking at it. I'm like, dude, I can't focus. Like, now, mind you, there's nothing else going on. The TV's not on, nothing else. But I'm looking at it. I'm rereading the question. I'm looking at the multiple choice. And I'm like, I'm watching the time tick down, tick down, tick down. And I go, and I'm like, oh, shit. I answer it, and I'm like, wrong. And I'm like, okay. I just closed the laptop, and I'm like, you're done for the day. Because I couldn't absorb what was in the article. It just wasn't sticking. And I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
It's done when you can't focus anymore, when you're not absorbing.
And think about if you do that day in and day out. Day in and day out, what happens to your whole life, your business, your relationships? You get an absolute burnout from any and everybody.
You know who gets a lot of burnout? I'm going to tell you 3 different professions. Firefighters.
Yeah.
Like paramedics, police officers, and ER doctors. And it's not, ER doctors, it's not such physical burnout because they work shifts. 12 hours done, 8 hours done. But they see so much in that time period that they just, it affects them. It's mental burnout. Police officers, same thing. When you see so much crap all the time, it affects you. And some of these cops that do bullshit, it may be because they're burning out and they become, the other sign I meant to say is the other sign of burnout is lack of empathy, lack of sympathy. You start to realize, I don't care as much. They found this in doctors when they're starting to burn out. Their interactions with patients became very cold. It became very mechanical. It became sort of, whatever. When they interviewed people, they would say that the bedside manner changed. So why isn't that the same in other professions? If you're in a profession where, for example, you're a customer service, whatever that may be, whether you work in hospitality, whether you work in a restaurant as a server or a hostess, when you've had enough, your interaction with the customer becomes very different. Not necessarily hostile, but sort of cold and distant. And you're wondering why your tips are going down or what's happening. Well, you're burned out. Take a week off, regroup, come back, And I think our society looks at it as a weakness. Here's interesting. And I'm just looking at physician burnout. Physician burnout is way higher in the U.S. than any other nation in the world. Kind of wild, right?
Yeah.
And it's not because our people are sicker.
Yeah.
But we've learned that, like in the European countries, the trainees, burnout's like 27%. In the U.S., it's like 38 or something crazy like that.
But don't you find it interesting, the people that I see that burn out a lot, same that what you're saying, all the people that provide a level of service, that provide a level of expertise.
Yep.
There's a certain energy, a certain knowledge that they have that's needed. You can't just be anybody to do this job.
No.
So there's sometimes a little bit of arrogance that goes behind that expertise. Yeah. So those people thinking, oh, well, I know how to, or this is what I do, then all of a sudden that position, but there's also the need of being more personable as well.
Yes.
That personable side kind of gets lost after a while because you're doing such level of repetition of what I know how to do. And
not only that, you're so into being there for other people. Mm-hmm. And burnout comes because you neglect yourself. Mm-hmm. We found that prevention of burnout, regular exercise. So regular exercise, sleep are probably the two things that are the highest on the list to how to prevent burnout. Number 3, having an outlet. Whatever that outlet is. Forget exercise, you take exercise and sleep away. What is that outlet for you from is it music? Is it friends? Is it whatever it may be? Something to put your mind elsewhere, especially those people who are in the service of others industry, which is basically a lot of different industries. But I think we are all susceptible to it, 100%. I think a lot of us won't admit when it's starting. Yeah. Those of us like me who, if I feel like I'm slowly getting there, is when I'll just not do anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not in the mood. I won't go out. I won't do anything. I'll just stay home, watch a little Netflix, and just be like, all right, that's my recharge. Or I'll get up early in the morning and jump on the bike, or I'll get up and get on the rower, and that'll just recharge.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't need 2 weeks to recharge. There's some people that need a few days. There's some people that need a couple hours. Meditation's the other thing that people will say will help prevent burnout. If you meditate a little bit every day, I haven't learned how to do that, but that's one of the things that I read in this article I was reading. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because I was reading an article for this exact test that I'm taking, It was about physician burnout. But yeah, I think we don't pay enough attention to it, and that's why people end up losing their shit.
Yeah. I think a good break from the idea, like you say, you can't do meditation, is to do deep breathing, because you can't. If you're counting 4 seconds down, holding for 2 or 3 or whatever seconds, and then blowing out, for 4 seconds, you're going to have to count those seconds. Yeah. You're going to be focused on those breaths. So at least you become more centered to one thing, because a lot of times meditation gets caught into like, I need to be in this special place, this special time. My mind is going all over the place. I'm thinking about too many things, as opposed to just focusing on one thing. And if you're focusing on your breaths and the count behind those breaths, you're actually meditating. Okay.
And the other thing too, for me, is stepping away from what I do every day. So if I'm medical, I come home, I do absolutely nothing medical. I'll read books that have nothing to do with medicine.
Right.
I'll watch TV shows that have nothing to do with medicine.
Completely away from it. Mm-hmm.
And that gives me that break from the daily grind mentally, So yeah, man, it's time for you to recommend some more books. Just saying. Coach is my book expert. Maybe one day we'll do a podcast on books.
Yeah.
We'll grab a book and we'll just
start
talk it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we got a handful that we need to talk about. Adam Grant's book. We got a few books.
Oh man, that book is great.
Yeah.
What do you think about burnout in relationships?
I think if it gets to that point. So here's my thought on relationships, whether it be friendships, whether it be marriages, significant others, whatever it may be. Because I'm not married, I can't say this, but I've never seen a marriage where you take a break from it and come back to it and it works. So the key is, before you get burned out in a marriage, figure out that you're starting to burn, and start fixing that problem. Start understanding why it's burning. Yeah. Why is it starting to fizzle? Because once the flame is out, it's gone. You may be able to reignite it at some point, but it's different.
Yeah.
With my friendships that have run their course, then I ask myself, were they really friends? They may have been, but neither one of us fostered it enough to keep it going.
Right.
And I think that's why they get burned out. Or it's too intense and too toxic that it burns out.
Yeah.
Like this one we talked about earlier, that's going to burn out.
Yeah.
Because that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
When your relationship is built on toxic traits, it's going to burn out. Yeah. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah. Because that's extra work. That's unnecessary work. I think that within a relationship, if it gets to the point where it feels like it's burnout, I think before you start pointing a finger, look in the mirror.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest thing. Okay, why am I feeling this way? What am I doing and contributing to the relationship that's allowing the relationship to get to this point? Because they're only, a lot of times, especially as a man, they're only reacting based off of the way you are.
Oh, for sure. But here's also what I've seen too with friends that have kids. The relationship burns out also because of neglect. It's either the man is neglecting the relationship because he's working a lot, or the woman neglects the relationship because of the kids. The focus becomes the kids, the marriage becomes second, and what people fail to realize is that your marriage should always be number one. Your kids come second.
Your kids are a product of your love.
Right. The kids come second, even though providing for them is of ultimate responsibility, but your marriage still comes first.
Yeah. Marriage is number one.
Yes.
Yeah. You always put your wife first.
Yes.
Your husband first.
Exactly.
The kids
are going to be all right.
Because the kids are going to be all right. Two, the kids are going to be very all right when they see their parents are loving to each other.
That's what they're going to mimic.
Yes.
They're going to see that, And if they see that you guys are roommates, or they see that you guys are just doing your separate things, they're going to think that's what a relationship is. And then that's going to perpetuate that cycle, you know? And so, and that's how that relationship burns. So you have to stop it before it burns.
Burnout. Tired of you. Bye. Won't want no more of this.
Oh, this dude.
I love you, though.
This dude got problems.
I love you, though. That's how I always say, but I love you, though.
Man, Coach.
It was an unexpected.
Took some twists and turns today,
I
man.
know. But you know what? You want to fight that burnout? Look in that mirror.
Looking at them, exactly. Take care of yourself. Know that you probably are the problem, and you need to fix it.
Yeah.
Just hydrate, sleep, rest your mind.
Yeah. Fix it, or like you just said, nourish it.
You have to. You have to. Coach, man, this was a good episode, man. Where they gonna find you?
They're gonna find me at Coach KJ Knows on Instagram and CoachKJ.com. They're also gonna find us at
podcastsoe.com and at SOE_podcast.
Where they gonna find you?
You'll find me at Leonel Hunt, Leonel Hunt, and you'll find me at huntspine.com.
We out.